what's up? Hello, this is The Sweat. Reid, you're feeling loose? I'm feeling loose too. I'm Brendan Glasheen. Yes, he is Reid Fowler. Thanks for checking us out. We appreciate you joining us. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. There is another way to watch this show.
Yeah.
It's on the DK Live app. There's a nice nifty watch tab on the bottom of the app. Just click on it. Actually, it takes you right there, so you can watch the show awfully easily. I'm going to start by declaring you a big old jinx.
What? Why is that?
Well, did you watch the Thursday night football game last night?
I got it. Yeah, not so happy Friday for Texans wideout Will Fuller, who is likely out or is out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. That's a huge hit for that team. Obviously, they're testing some guys out. So let's bring in our NFL panel, DK Live's Jeff Ulrich, Ryan Noonan of the Quaint Edge, and the fantasy girl, Rosalie Michaels. Ladies first, as usual, for NFL Spin Move, Rosalie, what does this mean, or what does the Fuller news mean for DeAndre Hopkins? What do you think?
Well, I don't think anything changes for DeAndre Hopkins, right? He's always going to be the top target on that team. And when you see that catch that wasn't a catch last night, you see why. I mean, the man is incredible. So for him, he just keeps getting targets. Maybe he gets a few more touchdowns, which is great for DeAndre Hopkins owners. But, you know, they need another target on that team. So, you know, they're going to start looking to other people. They're bringing in, you know, Bryce Butler for a workout. There's been rumors about Dez, but I've heard that they don't want Dez. You know, and then you listen to Bill O'Brien, who is the coach, obviously, of the Texans. And he really likes Tyler Ervin, the running back, and really wants to get him more into the slot there. So I know everybody's high on Jordan, the guy who got the Jordan Thomas, who got the 2 touchdowns last night, obviously. But, you know, you have to remember, Houston doesn't throw a lot to their tight ends. They really are wide receiver heavy, and they'll plug in other guys that will take the place of Fuller, including, of course, Kiki Kute, who will be back eventually. So it doesn't mean a lot for Hopkins, maybe a few more touchdowns because he's already just a stud, but it gives some other guys some opportunity.
Yeah, Ryan, you heard Rosalie mention that those guys don't really, or Houston doesn't really target the tight end. Jordan Thomas might have been a matchup play there. So what do you think this does to the offense? I mean, obviously Deshaun Watson might be someone that we're worried about. And it looks like Ryan, oh, are you still there? You might be frozen. There you are.
Yeah.
So what do you think of Jordan Thomas, and then obviously for that entire offense, what do you think goes on there?
I don't think he can hear you.
Ryan was loose.
Yeah, so as far as
Jeff, your
Thomas
thoughts?
goes, I feel like that was pretty much a 1 week anomaly. Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I think we're good. Well, Jeff, we'll start with you, actually. We'll try to work on your internet there, your connection. So, Jeff, take it off.
It's my turn, folks. I'm a little bit more pessimistic on this situation than Rosalie. If you look at Deshaun Watson, what he did and what he's done with Will Fuller in the lineup, it's a lot better. I mean, that's where all his big games have come with Will Fuller. And to an extent, DeAndre Hopkins, since he's had Watson as his quarterback, he's been much more efficient with Fuller in the lineup. Now, just because Fuller's not there doesn't mean like DeAndre Hopkins is going to fade out to black like, you know, Marty McFly in Back to the Future or something. But I do have a little bit of concern that, you know, Hopkins' upside in some spots might be affected a little bit. Obviously, get Kute back. That'll really open up the field for him as well, and possibly open up for Hopkins again. But you could see a little bit of an effect here because Fuller was such a good field stretcher in the short term.
All right, we'll go back to Ryan Noonan in just a moment, still trying to shore up his connection. Let's go to Marshawn Lynch. He goes to IR. So the topic of discussion here is Doug Martin. He's the new feature running back for the Raiders, according to head coach John Gruden. Reporters yesterday, yeah, thanks, guys. He says he still has a lot of miles left on those wheels of his. Jeff, you believe in Martin at 4,400 this week?
Muscle hamster.
I mean, I think he's got a little bit of juice left. And I say juice because, you know, he was suspended at some point. But look, it's really just the situation. He's on the Raiders, a team that's like going nowhere, bottom 5 team. And then he's also got to deal with Jalen Richard taking a lot of the PPR snaps. I believe him in saying he's got some mileage up. I just don't know how effective he's going to be in fantasy when the Raiders are going to be down a lot. He could just see like 10 to 15 carries a game and that's it, and not get that many passes. We're gonna have to see how this works out. If for some reason he gets into like an every down role, yeah, I'll be very interested, but I'm kind of taking a more wait and see approach this week.
Rosalie, any trust in Martin this week?
Well, like you said, John Gruden has a lot of trust in him. John Gruden really likes him. So that's great news for Doug Martin. You know, and when you look at him versus Richard is the pass catching back, obviously, but Doug Martin's a better runner. He's getting 3.7 yards per carry as opposed to the 2.9 from Richard. And Marshawn Lynch was really the goal line back. That's why he scored so many fantasy points. If you're looking at the Oakland Raiders, other than Carr, Marshawn Lynch was the highest fantasy point scorer on that team. So, you know, yeah, does he hold any value at 4,400? Not this week to me. Indy's not bad to run on, but they're not great either. So it's really going to be matchup dependent for Doug Martin week to week. Like Jeff said, you know, the Raiders just don't score a lot of points. They don't score a lot of touchdowns, and that's what you're going to need out of Doug Martin. So can you get some mileage out of him? Yeah, look at what Adrian Peterson is doing just on the ground, and we thought he was done, right? So it's going to be interesting to see. He's a wait and see for me, but he could have some value later on.
All right, we think we have Ryan Noonan back with us. Ryan, we're talking about Doug Martin. He is into the starting lineup. He's the feature back for the Raiders. Do you believe he has enough miles left, especially this week at 4,400?
Yeah, I'm just going to blame the internet thing on Jeff because I think that's just what we do here, right?
There we go.
Things go sideways. We just
you just made up for missing that.
Wait, at least it's not Rosalie. Rosalie, your internet connection is fantastic. We need to mention that. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. Hard pass for me on Doug Martin, though. Just not good anymore. His average 3 yards a carry over the past 3 seasons. That's over a sample of 309 carries. So pretty substantial sample size there. And Oakland's offensive line has been a disappointment this season as well. And Rosalie was mentioning it. Actually, the Colts have been pretty spry against the run. 26% of the carries against them have gone for 0 or fewer yards. That's the fourth best rate in the league. I think this is going to be a negative game script as well. Give me his teammate, Jalen Richard, for 200 less. He's going to see more work as well, and his passing game skills fit better for DK as well on full point PPR.
All right, moving on to that game across the pond. Obviously, the Jaguars are in London to take on the defending Super Bowl champs, the Eagles. Blake Bortles has had a great success across the pond and is 3-0, 8 touchdowns, just 1 INT in 3 games there. So, Ryan, any faith in Bortles, which could be a sneaky play, a sneaky GBP play if you want to do that in that showdown mode. Sunday morning's showdown contest, he's 84 as a flex, 12-6 as a captain. What do you think?
Oh, I'm embarrassed because we're recording this and putting this out into the world, but I actually think it's good. I think it's a decent spot for him, and partially just because of the matchup. I mean, Philly is really elite against the run. They have not been able to do anything on the ground. Bringing Carlos Hyde, I don't know that's going to do much for them as well. So I think they're going to struggle to run the football. And relying on Blake is a recipe for disaster. But again, I think Dante Moncrief gets involved, and I think he and Bortles are definitely in play in the showdown.
Well, Jeff is the highest investor in the Bort coin. So what do you think, bud?
Oh, you want to talk about being embarrassed, Ryan? I talked up Brock Osweiler yesterday. So
there we go. That's a man.
I mean, from a showdown perspective, from a showdown format, I'm just not sure what other Jacksonville player you target. I mean, Carlos Hyde might not even get all the carries. Maybe you go back to TJ Yeldon because he'll get involved in the pass game. But yeah, I think Bortles might actually make the most sense, scarily enough. He could get pulled in the first quarter, but he can also run for like 50 yards and a touchdown or something crazy like that. So there's not a lot of hope on the Jacksonville offensive side, in my opinion, but Bortles is in play. He's cheap enough, and you do have to take one Jacksonville player in your showdown lineup. So why not take their quarterback, I guess? It's not a very good endorsement, but it's all I got.
Rosalie, any faith here from what these guys are saying or from Bortles? What do you think?
You guys are really trying to have him be relevant, aren't you? I mean, they're like, I don't like it, but okay. You know what? When you get benched for Cody Kessler, you know you're in trouble. That's just, look at his last 3 games. His completion percentage is at 50%. His quarterback rating is in the toilet. September Bortles and October Bortles are two totally different animals. So I don't know. I don't think you can take the chance that he's going to get benched again. Philly's not great against the pass, but look at KC. KC is worse, and he barely managed one touchdown, and then he threw 4 interceptions against them. So for me personally, you have to play one. I would play anybody else on the Jaguars. I'm not touching him until I see what November looks like for him.
Yeah, maybe you roster their defense or something, right? If you have to get
exactly.
something in
42.5 implied game total, so yeah, it might be a slow one.
Thanks for the knowledge, Reid. All right, thanks, amigos. We'll talk to you soon. Hoops is next, but first we're going to learn about a new NFL game mode on DraftKings. Take it away, Emerson Lazio.
Get ready to break the bank in DraftKings' newest game, Gunslinger, presented by Red Dead Redemption 2 in stores October 26th. Now, Gunslinger means one thing, quarterbacks only. You heard me right. You have to choose the arms that'll blast you up the leaderboard. So you're going to select 6 quarterbacks, okay? Racking up points in the scoring structure that benefits the signal callers who like to pull the trigger. 6 points per passing touchdown. Stacking yardage bonuses for 300, 350, and 400 passing yards. Points per completion, and so much more. You even get bonus points for your guy's longest completion of the game. Now in week 8, there are no shortage of gunslingers. Chief stud Patrick Mahomes, he just set an NFL record last week with 22 touchdowns through his first 8 career games, and he'll look to continue his hot start as he battles the Broncos' pass defense. The same Broncos pass defense that held him to just 1 touchdown in week 4. However, you just can't pass on Mahomes, even at the highest salary on the board of $11,000, because he's a surefire threat week in and week out. So if you pay up for Mahomes, you're going to need to find some value, save some gold, and rush west. To the 49ers quarterback, that would be C.J. Beathard. This dude's a steal at just $5,000, facing an Arizona defense that has not corralled anyone lately. So yeah, his upside, more than okay. But if you want points, and who doesn't, the stage is set for a shootout between Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff Sunday afternoon as the Packers battle with the Rams in the City of Angels. Aim for Rodgers in this one. He'll likely spend plenty of time in the shotgun, trying to avoid Aaron Donald and the Rams' gritty defense. Sure, he's risky, a price tag just north of $10K against a great defense, but the reward might be too good to pass up for one of the game's premier gunslingers. Set your sights, round up your gang, take your shot at Gunslinger, presented by Red Dead Redemption 2, available October 26th.
From the Duval darling himself, thanks, Emmy, appreciate it. Time for some hoops, and here to help us is our very own Chirag Kira, DK editor, and Mr. Greg Ehrenberg. Appreciate the time, guys. Missing that LA weather right now, aren't we, Chirag? So right about now, we're going to talk and hit you up with some NBA price check. Greg obviously is going to give us his information as well. And will these players return value on their salary?
We're going to talk Houston Rockets first. James Harden is out. So, Chirag, how much do you like Chris Paul at 9,200?
It's a lock. Lock and load. Play Chris Paul tonight. You know where I live in LA. It's Narrative Street. So let's take a stroll to LA against the Clippers. You need to lock in Chris Paul tonight. No Harden. That really bumps up his usage rate, and that's where the entire team starts, and we'll go from there. Yes, they are playing against Clamp City, but I don't think Patrick Beverley is going to be able to slow down Chris Paul tonight.
Greg, hopefully Chris Paul wiped all the spit from his mouth. Is he going to come out and shows he's worth 9,200 tonight?
Yeah, I think so. We really called in all the backups for our segments today, haven't we? But if we look at Chris Paul, 9,200. Last year when James Harden was out, his price tag got all the way up to 10,600. So I still think there's plenty of upside in this price tag. And you look at his usage rate last year with Harden off the court, led the team with a 30.3% usage rate. Per 36 minutes, he scored 58 DK points last year without Harden on the floor. So I really think that he's a good value play, even though 9,200 isn't typically where you think of somebody as a good value, but there's upside there.
Greg, we just can't ask the question and get an answer. He's always got to throw a little dig at one of us.
Yeah,
I
I
got all the
think he
backups in here tonight.
Actually, that was a dig at me more than anything. They asked me to do this segment like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, don't give up our production secrets.
So he's
Come
trying
on,
to tell you, everybody, national audience.
Well, it's okay. Shrug's in Asana, so we got
Picks
it.
don't go well.
Giannis is up to a season high at 11-7 after an 81.5 fantasy point outing. Woo. Too steep for the freak. What do you think?
I'm still really debating that. It's going to go until after lock. Jimmy Butler is questionable. Andrew Wiggins is questionable. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I have to go towards Anthony Davis if I'm looking to build a superstar right now. If Jimmy Butler and Andrew Wiggins are in, then I'll go to the Greek Freak because I believe that game is going to be close and high scoring. If both players are out, then I would fade him and go with Anthony Davis.
B-Team, what do you think?
Well, here I think I have to agree with Chirag here, mostly because he edits all my work, and if it wasn't for him, all of it would be a total mess. We see whenever you see him on Twitter pointing out like some crazy spelling errors or grammar errors, it's probably because of me. But if I look at Giannis for tonight, I think he's okay for cash games, but for GPPs, I really go towards Anthony Davis, and I think there's more upside for him in a favorable matchup against the Nets. And also, Giannis has been playing a little bit over his head so far. I think he should regress a little bit. He didn't put up nearly as many fantasy points per game last year. Whereas what Anthony Davis is doing with DeMarcus Cousins, I think is pretty sustainable.
All right, same game, different player. Karl Anthony Towns on the other side of this matchup, only averaging under 35 DK points, but is $3,600 cheaper than Anthony Davis. You guys just hit on him. Chirag, believe in Cat at 8,000 even.
Yes and no. It goes back to the entire Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins situation. I do believe in him. I do like him, but it's a situation where right now you need to just load up on the Clippers and the late slate for your lineups and then just deal with it when the news comes in. It's a really interesting slate because we have a 7, 7:30, then a bunch of 8 o'clock games, and then you have that 10 o'clock game with Bradley Beal questionable as well. So I think this is a scenario where you do plug in Cat or you have the opportunity to use him if Jimmy Butler's out. If Jimmy Butler's in, I would actually go with Tobias Harris, take a little bit of a discount, and get the other players in.
Ultimately, though, it doesn't sound like you're too high on him.
It all depends on the slate. Today's premium late swap slate.
Greg, do you agree?
Well, I'm definitely happy to have late swap back, and it's definitely because of situations like this. We're going to be going into lock with a bunch of guys still listed as questionable. Download the DK Live app so you can get all that information as we put it out, as guys get ruled out in the coming hours. But you look at Karl Anthony Towns, he's really struggled this year. The usage is down. He hasn't been getting the shot attempts. Guys like Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler have been taking a lot of it from him. But we don't know what's going on with Butler. Is he going to be traded? Is he actually sick? Is he not going to play? If he's ruled out, then guys like Josh Okogie becomes a really good play. And Karl Anthony Towns does become a much bigger part of the offense because they need him to take shots in that situation. As it stands right now, if Butler plays, I don't really like Towns. But to agree with Chirag, if Butler is ruled out, if Wiggins is ruled out, then Towns is one of the better plays on the slate.
All right, you two, especially Greg, stick around. We've scheduled you way in advance to stay throughout this show, but we're not taking any breaks here, even though today is Friday.
The internet.
Hey, it's Friday.
You don't need no breaks.
Take some breaks. We're going right into NHL on tonight's late 3-game slate.
Yeah, let's welcome in our analyst going solo again. Well, not quite. We actually just had 2 guys. So our first solo guest of the night is Sean Newsham from the Action Network. You can download the app on iPhones and Androids if you haven't found out already. Also, check out the DK Live app if you haven't already to watch this show tonight. So NHL opening faceoff, Sean, where you are choosing between some of the top options at the position. First, we'll start with center. Colorado's Nathan McKinnon. First, Ottawa. He's at 8,000. Or Winnipeg's Mark Shifley. I hope I'm saying that one right. He's 7,200 at Detroit. Shifley.
Yeah, you're a little bit off there with the names, but no big deal.
Who isn't off
for me, I'm going to take Nathan McKinnon. He is one of the top players in the league in shots. He ranks 3rd currently in the entire NHL in shots, and you find Colorado as the biggest favorite of the entire slate tonight. So for me, I think I'm going to look towards McKinnon. However, I also do like Mark Scheifele as well. He's a little bit below what I would take with McKinnon, so if I'm choosing between the two, I would go with Nathan McKinnon tonight.
See, I give myself the easy questions and the easy names here. Moving on to the wing, we have Colorado's Mikko Rantanen versus Ottawa at 7K, or Winnipeg's Patrick Lane at 7,100 at Detroit. So with those easy names, who are you picking?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to switch it up a little bit here and go towards Winnipeg instead. So the reason I'm on the separate sides on these is just shot volume. The two guys that I'm picking are the high shot volume guys for their team compared to the other guys. For me, I'm going to take Patrick Laine. He's currently shooting at a 7.5% shooting percentage, and his career numbers are closer to 18%. So I think it's a lot stronger of a situation for him. And Mikko Rantanen, over his course of his career, is not a big-time volume shooter. His numbers, however, are currently propped up right now due to him having 6 goals and 14 assists on the season. So right now, the assist total is what's propping Rantanen up, and Laine's numbers are super in the floor because he hasn't really scored anything. He only has 5 score points on the entire season. So for me, I expect Laine to sort of kick out of his funk tonight, and I choose him.
All right, let's move to defense. Brent Burns is over $1,000 more than other defensemen. So we're looking at San Jose's Erik Karlsson, and then it's at $5,600 at Carolina versus Karlsson's replacement in Ottawa. That would be Thomas Chabot at $5,400 at Colorado. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this one's an easy one as well. Erik Karlsson is the most talented defenseman in the league. Thomas Chabot has been pretty solid since stepping into Karlsson's role and filling those minutes. However, Karlsson is the elite defenseman in the entire NHL. His numbers have been hurt a little bit due to being in San Jose and sort of sharing the spotlight with Brent Burns. However, he still ranks in the 97th percentile in shots on goal over the last month for defensemen, which is still a fantastic number. We've never really seen Karlsson at a price like this, so I think it's a great time to snatch him up and pick Erik Karlsson.
Very nice. So last but not least, we're looking at goalies and keepers. Colorado's Philip Grubauer at 8,100 versus Ottawa, or Carolina's Peter Mrazek, at 7,700 against San Jose. Who are you picking?
Yeah, this one's going to go straight to the Vegas lines. If you take a look at Vegas tonight, you see that Colorado's by far the biggest favorite on the slate. They're minus 201 favorite at home. And then you look towards Carolina and you find Mrazek, and it's basically a coin flip game. So when you can give me a situation where I can get the massive home favorite on a slate and pay less than what I would pay for a guy that's in a situation where he's about a coin flip to win the game, I'm going to take the other guy all the time in that situation. So for me, I'm going to take Philip Grubauer tonight for Colorado.
Sean, before we let you go, let's get your slate-approved pick for tonight's slate in the NHL.
All right, my slate-approved pick for tonight is none other than Dougie Hamilton. I've talked about him a few times over the course of the last month, and he's at 5,200 tonight. If you look at the top 10 in the league in shots on goal per game, you find the likes of Tyler Seguin, Nathan McKinnon, and then you look down a little bit further, and right there is Dougie Hamilton. All of these other players that are priced as similarly as him are priced about 8,000 or right around 7,500. You get Dougie Hamilton at 5,200, it's a fantastic value. So my slate-approved pick for tonight is Dougie Hamilton.
Sean Newsham of the Action Network, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon. As with every Friday, we have a chance to catch up with Mike Francesa of WFAN talking about basketball tonight. Also, the New York Giants making moves. We led off our interview tonight discussing the World Series. It's another Francesa Friday here on The Sweat. Mike Francesa of WFAN Sports Radio, New York City. Good to talk to you again this week, Mike. We'll start with the World Series. Red Sox leading the Dodgers. 2-0. Game 3 is tonight. Before we preview the game this evening, just your takeaways through these first 2 games of the Fall Classic. You said the Sox are making this look easy.
Well, they have. I mean, everything they do works. I mean, they get a lot of 2-out hits. They've made every play in the outfield. They make great catches everywhere. And they've, using Eovaldi the way they have in front of the closer has really shut down the Dodgers. And they've made it look easy. You know, you knew they were the better team going in. Dodgers were going to have to, get a big performance from their starting pitching, which they haven't, and get somebody to really step up in that lineup and have a magical series. And they really need to breathe life into this thing right now. The biggest take that's come out of the first 2 games is it's really put America to sleep. They really have to pick it up. So everything's on the Dodgers now. That stadium has to come alive, which it always doesn't. That team has to come alive in a big way right now and really breathe some fire into this series, because I'm sure baseball's stunned that there hasn't been more juice in this World Series.
Where will this series stand on Monday morning? Sox wrap it up, or do the Dodgers make it a series?
Right right now, I'll be surprised if the Dodgers win 2 out of 3. I'll be surprised. If this series is alive, I'll be surprised. I think the Red Sox are laying all over them right now. They just look like the far better team.
All right, well, hey, let's shift to the gridiron. Bunch of trades going down in the NFL this week. Giants won't admit there's a rebuild going on, but they depart cornerback Eli Apple to the Saints for a couple of late-round picks. They also trade Snacks, Damon Harrison to the Lions. You're on record. Back up the truck. It has begun. So who's next?
Anybody they can get rid of. I mean, listen, they can say what they want. This is a complete back up the truck deal. They're devastated by what's going on here. Gettleman came in. He drafted the running back. They have completely struck out on the line, which has led to Eli being inefficient, which has led to breakdowns in the team. They have not been good on special teams. They've been spotty on defense. They don't have a pass rush. Vernon missed the first 5 games. Bottom line is they're not a very good team. They now have to go back and break it down. They've already started. I think they would trade anybody they could trade. I don't know if Eli would waive his no trade. My gut says he would. It's got to be a special situation, though. I think that would be the best way for him to leave. The cleanest way would be to go to a contender this year and try and see if he could help, rather than go and see when his final day is going to be here. Because let's be honest, they're going to go in a different direction next year, even if it's not towards their first swing at a new quarterback, a new franchise quarterback, even if it's just a stopgap guy. I don't think it'll be Eli the quarterback next year.
Also in the NFC East, reaction to the Cowboys. They aggressively trade a first-round pick for Amari Cooper.
They overpaid for him. I thought it was a bad signing. Gruden is completely breaking down the Raiders. I wouldn't even be surprised if he tried to trade Carr this week. He went in there and sold that owner, obviously, that you could not build this roster this way with giving 2 players 20-something% of the money. As far as the Cowboys, listen, bringing Cooper in is not a big deal. It's okay. But bring him in at a realistic price. A high 3, a low 2 would have been a realistic price. 1, they badly overpaid for him.
In the NBA, Kevin Durant must know by now there's a billboard in New York City recruiting him to the Knicks next summer. Durant and the Warriors are at MSG tonight. Any chance Durant winds up in the Big Apple next year or in future years?
You know, this has gotten a lot of energy and a lot of life behind it. This idea that Durant wants to go out and stake his own claim after this year, which might be very true. But obviously, he would be, for years everyone thought LeBron would, prayed that LeBron would come here. I never thought he would. He didn't seem to ever really have any liking for New York. I don't know if Durant does. He's here. Obviously, Golden State and Steve Kerr, who I've known a long time, said he wants his players to come to New York and have some fun. Well, hopefully for the Knicks, they have fun before the game, because maybe then they won't play as well, because that's the only chance they have as far as winning the game goes.
All right, another Francesa Friday in the books. Mike Francesa of WFAN. He rejoins us on Sunday to weigh in on the NFL action. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right, great having that sports pope on the show. Significant drop-off in clout as our very own Adam Kaufman now joins us on the phone from Los Angeles. Hollywood Adam is covering the World Series from WBZ Radio, based in Boston.
Yeah, beautiful picture from your hotel room, Kaufman. Hope you've actually made it outside. How's the weather?
Yeah, gorgeous Glendale. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous outside. It's nothing like what you're dealing with in Boston at all, where it's cold and probably raw and rainy. No, you got nothing but sunshine out this way, fellas.
Great. Hey, lineups are out for both teams. Red Sox have no Andrew Benintendi. JD Martinez is in. Right move here for the Red Sox?
Personally, I'm kind of dumbfounded by it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's really a decision of Jackie Bradley Jr. playing over Andrew Benintendi, because you knew that JD Martinez, so long as his ankle was okay, was going to play. It's good enough. He tested it out in right field prior to the game, so he's going to be out there. Benintendi and Bradley, they're both left-handers going against a righty and Walker Buehler. Benintendi is better against righties. He's the better overall hitter between the two. But with how Alex Cora has managed so far, not only throughout the whole year, but especially this postseason and this World Series, you don't be surprised if Benintendi ends up pinch hitting at some point, and everything the guy has touched has turned to gold So it's, forgive me for even attempting to question the man when he makes a decision like this. I just wonder, obviously, at what point in time when you choose your defense over your offense with that bum ankle for Martinez, when you're over-managing a little bit, taking out the superior hitter.
Well, 2-0, you got some, wiggle room to try those things out. Koff, no team has ever come back or has come back from a 3-0 deficit in the World Series. So is there a sense the Dodgers are approaching tonight with a must-win mentality? I think so, huh?
No, they better, right? I mean, 43 of the last 54 teams to win the first 2 games of the World Series have gone on to win the championship. That's about 80%, which I think, as we know, is pretty good. That's at least a B in school, fellas. So that's really good. Now, it bodes well for Boston, not to mention a 5-0 record on the road for the Sox this postseason, 9-0 when scoring first. That's going to be a big emphasis. I will say, of the 9 times the Dodgers have fallen behind 0-2 in any postseason series, they have gone on to win Game 3 8 times, and they've won 3 of those series. So they had better view this as a must-win, and they will have at least temperatures on their side after complaining back in Boston about the weather.
Oh, Kaufman certainly did his homework before he came on the phone with us. That's good to know. Hey, Dodgers are relying on rookie Walker Buehler to pitch the game of his life tonight. Solid rookie campaign overall. What'd I say?
No, that was Buehler.
Oh, okay. Has he ever faced an offense, though, this good, like the Boston Red Sox?
Well, he's never faced the Red Sox, as we know. I think you got to begin there. And when I say the Red Sox, I mean really any of these players, not just the organization. The only guy that he has any career experience against, because, of course, as you said, he's a rookie, he hasn't been around long, was Ian Kinsler. He faced him twice earlier this year before Kinsler wound up with the Red Sox. Kinsler went 1 for 2, but again, he's not even starting tonight. So everybody's going in with a fresh slate. You can have that debate, as we often do when we're on the sweat, talking about who has the advantage in a first-time matchup. Is it the hitter who is had the opportunity to study all sorts of tape, as has the pitcher, or is it the pitcher because the hitter doesn't know what's coming, doesn't have a history, a track record of personal matchups, doesn't know what to anticipate? But Buehler did have a good rookie campaign. It's sub-3 ERA. He's a guy that strikes out a lot of guys. The control, for the most part, is pretty good, sometimes susceptible to the home run ball. And as you noted, this Red Sox offense is remarkably dangerous. So, I got to think the matchup favors the Red Sox. But again, when you're at home, that has to give you at least a little bit of leeway.
Hey, Bud, we talked about the weather at the beginning of this segment in terms of obviously it helping the Dodgers. Do you think it plays a part for the Red Sox? They're obviously used to playing, maybe not at this temperature right around this time. What do you think it does for them? Does it really matter for them at this point?
I think it does. As I mentioned before, it's gorgeous outside, and it's 83. It's sunny. There's not a cloud in the sky over the stadium. Very little humidity, no wind, no chance of rain. It's a great day and night for baseball. But the Dodgers, they did complain about the cold in Boston, which is something that the Sox are used to this time of year, and even going back to the beginning of the season in April, they're used to playing in crappy weather, which is not really true of the of the Dodgers. I spoke with Game 3 starter Rick Porcello and Game 4 starter, at least projected Game 4 starter Nathan Eovaldi, after Game 2 at Fenway, and I asked them about handling the heat since they're so used to the cold, and they said the heat was absolutely going to make a difference for them, especially for the guys who tend to sweat a lot like Eovaldi said he does. But Porcello said that he's going to warm up even faster, and that has to be considered a good thing. I'm just not so sure this is going to be a huge advantage for LA, because remember, most teams across baseball play in sunshine all year long, just typically not in October.
Oh, must be nice. Must be nice.
Getting sweaty in L.A., Adam Kaufman.
Sweaty for the sweat. All right, it was too easy. He's Adam Kaufman. Follow his World Series coverage on Twitter at Adam M. Kaufman. He'll be sure not to follow you back. That was Glasheen writing this, obviously. Up next.
You.
Couldn't help myself.
Yeah, we'll talk NBA lineups, obviously, with another LA guy in Chirag for this 7-game slate.
Carolyn Ezek in with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. The Houston Rockets will be without their reigning MVP James Harden after suffering a hamstring injury during the team's loss against the Utah Jazz. An MRI revealed a grade 1 strain, and it remains to be seen if he misses more than 2 games. But this is a common injury for Harden, as he has battled it over the past 2 seasons. He will be reevaluated again prior to Houston's road trip. With Harden out, this creates a huge void for the Rockets. but it will open up more opportunity for playmaker Chris Paul, who returns tonight from suspension and will be the second highest priced point guard on the slate at $9,200. If you're looking for value tonight, you might have to consider Carmelo Anthony. Mike D'Antoni hinting that he may crack the starting five, and with the amount of shots he's likely to take and his reasonable $4,900 price tag, Melo is a bargain tonight. It will be a tough test for the Rockets on the road against the Clippers tonight as they look to snap a 2-game skid.
Yeah, from one of our very own out in LA, thanks Kaufman, to another one of our own from LA and wishes he was soaking up the sun, the West Coast Wizard, the Santa Monica Sun, our very own Chirag Hira, and Greg Ehrenberg with us to talk NBA. Sorry, no cool nicknames for you, Greg.
What an intro for Chirag. We're going to head right into this, Chirag and Greg. Great. Tears of Joy, where we give you guys, the fine people watching our program, their favorite picks from each tier. They're going to give you the picks, and we're just going to tee them up. So let's start off with Tier 4. Chris Middleton, DeAndre Jordan, Luka Doncic, Drew Holiday, Alfred Payton, Enes Kanter, De'Aaron Fox, Willie Cauley-Stein. Hey, Greg, since we didn't give you a fancy nickname, you can go first.
Well, I wish I had some cool information, like how much each player sweats and how I could incorporate it into my analysis here. But I'm just going to go with De'Aaron Fox. So Fox, which hasn't been a lot of them because the Kings do get blown out from time to time. Fox plays a ton of minutes and he produces. If you look at the 3 games have been competitive this year, 38, 42, 37 minutes for De'Aaron Fox. If you look at the Wizards side of the game, Bradley Beal might be out for tonight, which should keep this game closer. So I think Fox is the play here.
All right, Chirag, picking Tier 4.
Drew Holiday. I'm going to have to attack that Brooklyn defense. They're not a strong defensive team. And we got an opportunity here where, Drew Holiday is coming off a game where he was 2 for 15. So positive regression could work in his favor. He still knocked down 31.5 fantasy points in that game against the Clippers where he played 38 minutes. If he can get up to 32, 36, and if Brooklyn keeps this close, he has the highest upside of all the players in this tier. I do love Fox, though, for GPPs, but my cash play in this tier is definitely Drew Holiday.
All right, we're staying with the Santa Barbara boss here. Tier 5 up next, Eric Bledsoe, Clint Capella, Danilo Gallinari, Eric Gordon, Julius Randle, Karis LeVert, Draymond Green, or Tim Hardaway Jr. Who you got, bud?
I'm definitely going with Clint Capella as my cash game lock here. I have him in multiple lineups going in for tiers, and he has that double-double upside. He brings the defensive boards and blocks, so that's kind of where you have to look at here. He's had a situation where 33, 43, 36 fantasy points, playing over 34 minutes. They have no big men here. So an opportunity against the Clippers and Marcin Gortat, not feeling that. I'd rather see Boban come in and try to stop Capella.
Greg, what do you think? Tier 5.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go with Eric Gordon here. We talked about James Harden being out earlier, and he has a really big positive impact on Eric Gordon when he doesn't play also, just like with Chris Paul. 29.3% usage rating last year with Harden off the court, and he scored 37 DK points for 36 minutes with Harden off the floor.
All right, time to run through the 6. Jabari Parker, Jeff Teague, Dennis Smith Jr., D'Angelo Harrison, Klay Thompson, Buddy Hield, Otto Porter Jr., or Markieff Morris. Greg, back to you. Pick in Tier 6.
Well, the best part of this segment is definitely going to be you guys reading everybody's names off because the mispronunciations have been gold. That's been my favorite part. I'm going to go with Otto Porter here. It's already a plus matchup for him in a game with the highest over-under on the entire slate. And the other thing also, Bradley Beal, questionable to play. If he gets ruled out, then we're going to see a lot more playing time usage and value towards Otto Porter.
Chirag, Tier 6, please. Your pick.
I'm taking a jab. I'm going with Jabari Parker. He might be coming off the bench tonight, but we have Bobby Portis ruled out already. It's a situation where the usage is going to be there for him. He loves to shoot the ball. When he's in, he just shoots. So go with Jabari Parker. But also keep in mind, if you're making multiple lineups, you don't want to have Jabari Parker in there just in case Jimmy Butler gets ruled out, and you can go to Jeff Teague or D'Angelo Russell.
All right, Chirag, staying with you. Who is your slate-approved pick on tonight's 7-game slate?
Wendell Carter Jr. That's my boy. I've been playing him every single slate. He's 4,300 tonight. I'm going to go back to the slate. He's played 30 and 32 minutes in his last 2 games. Now we have Bobby Portis out, like I just mentioned. The rebounding upside is there. The scoring upside is going to be there. Wendell Carter Jr., lock it into your center. Get that value.
Greg, who you got?
Damian Dotson for me. He's been a garbage time hero so far this year. The Knicks are probably going to get blown out by the Warriors, but he's starting right now. It doesn't matter what the final score is going to be because he's going to be in there in the fourth quarter playing against the backups if it's a 50-point game. So I like Damian Dotson moving into the Knicks starting lineup.
All right, great stuff. Shirag Hira, Greg Ehrenberg. Find both of them on DK Live and the Playbook. We still have more World Series to get to coming up. Greg Ehrenberg's going to join us for that. But first, let's hear from the speedster himself, Pierce Dietrich, for Sunday's first state of 500 at Martinsville Speedway.
Welcome to the Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for Martinsville. Whose salary jumped up this week? Joey Logano, $8,500 up to $9,500. Cat's out of the bag. DraftKings fixed its price. Moral of the story, don't put cats in bags. Austin Dillon, $6,800 up to $7,400. He's got a top 15 DFS score in 7 of the last 9 Martinsville races. Tough to pass on him at this price. Paul Menard, $7,200 up to $7,700. The price seems a little high because it is a little high. His average finish at Martinsville is just 20th place. Whose salary dropped this week? Chase Elliott, $9,900 down to $9,200. Of course, he wins last week and his price drops the most. Wait, what? He almost won at Martinsville last fall. This is a steal. Eric Jones, $9,300 down to $8,700. Still too high. Should be $7,700 at Martinsville. Now, he is on a 3-race top 10 streak. Still too high for me. William Byron, $7,000 down to $6,400. He's got 1 Martinsville race ever. He started 20th in that race and finished 20th in that race. Hendrick Motorsports, though, they've got 24 wins at this racetrack. Favorite play of the week, Kyle Busch, $11,900. He is the best at Martinsville. Last 6 Martinsville races, his average finish is 3rd. That's really, really good. AJ Allmendinger, $6,200. Oversight pricing error alert. Road courses and Martinsville. That's where you play AJ Allmendinger. Last 6 Martinsville races, he's finished 11th or better 5 times. All right, guys, check out the DK Playbook for your DFS information and needs. If you've got NASCAR questions, hit me up on Twitter at @RaceForThePrize. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Catch me on DK Live.
Welcome back. Hope you're filling out some World Series Showdown contest lineups tonight. Red Sox aim to go up 3-0 tonight against those Dodgers. So DK Live's Greg Ehrenberg is back now talking MLB to drop some knowledge for this contest. No basketball, bud.
This was the segment he knew about before the show started, so this is the segment you actually want to pay attention to extra closely. Really quickly here, Red Sox lineup tonight: Betts, Bogarts, Moreland, Martinez, Holt, Devers, Bradley Jr., the pitcher Porcello. For the Dodgers, it's Peterson, Turner, Muncy, Machado, Bellinger, Puig, Grandal, Taylor, and then Buehler. Let's go to the pitching matchup, Greg. Buehler against Porcello, the Game 3 starting pitchers. Are you using either right-hander tonight?
Boy, going solo for this. You guys couldn't give me a dummy like Steve Buchanan to yell at for a few minutes.
Wow.
I got to go at this by myself.
Fired.
Steve's got to recharge the batteries.
So here, I'm thinking Buehler here. Rick Porcello hasn't worked very deep in any of his postseason starts so far. Buehler has been allowed to pitch up to 7 innings so far. He's only 14,100, and there is a lot of strikeout upside for him. And the other thing also, which Kaufman mentioned during his big phoner before, is that Andrew Benintendi isn't in the Red Sox lineup. And that's a pretty big downgrade for them not having Benintendi in there. He's one of the Red Sox better hitters. He's also a lefty, so he'd be one of the only guys with the platoon advantage against Buehler. So I think that Buehler does make sense at 14,100 as of play tonight.
All right, taking the Dodgers righty. So which bats are you eyeing in this showdown contest, going against obviously both Porcello and Buehler? What you got?
Yeah, so I like the left-handed batters for the Dodgers. We have Jock Peterson leading off, Max Muncy's hitting 3rd, and then Cody Bellinger hitting 5th. The Dodgers tend to pinch hit a lot of guys, except it's not as much a risk for the left-handers in this spot because the Red Sox don't really have any threatening left-handed pitchers out of the bullpen. Like, they added Drew Pomeranz to their postseason roster. Pomeranz has been terrible all year, so that just goes to show how much the Red Sox are desperate for left-handed pitching. They'd call up somebody like Pomeranz for the World Series when he's only pitched, 30 or so innings for the entire season. So I think the Dodgers left-handed bats, none of them are particularly expensive on all of home run upside.
Wait, he throws bows at Steve Bukes, but he doesn't use any BVP stats. I mean, I feel like you have to.
He can't with Walker Buehler.
That's
true.
He's so young, and then
Well,
Porcello.
here's one of the issues with BVP. 2 issues with BVP. Number 1, it's totally ridiculous. It's too small of sample size. But then number 2, also, this is the World Series game between interleague teams. There's a rookie on the mound who hasn't pitched against the Red Sox at all. And then we just have teams that don't really match up against each other very often. So we have nothing to go off of.
Yeah, Rick Porcello's been an American League pitcher his whole career. So we're just coming at you.
Some vitriol.
Hey, really quick, want to follow up. We talked bats. I know you like the Dodger bats, but Kaufman joined us, and he said J.D. Martinez was moving around a bit. Are you fading Martinez with that ankle flare-up from last game?
No, not really, because here's the deal. J.D. Martinez is a very good hitter. He's a poor fielder, but that doesn't matter for showdown. He might make a couple of egregious plays in the field. That's not going to take away fantasy points from us. If he's at the plate and he hits a home run like Kirk Gibson style, we're going to get all the points for it, and he's going to limp around the bases. So I'm still cool with J.D. Martinez, and I think that he is the one Red Sox bat to target if you have to pick one.
Okay, hey, want to target some value. It gets really interesting now. We're in the NL ballpark, so we're going to see pitchers come up to hit, and then we're going to have situations where guys have to pinch hit for the pitcher. You want to get guys that can hit the baseball. So are we going to find value with the position players off the bench or in the bullpen? How would you target value for this contest?
Yeah, well, for one, I think we should also do a whole segment where we just explain to Reid all the rules of baseball, because that seems that seems.
They don't have baseball in Hawaii.
That's rude, but go ahead.
So here, I'm looking at Kenley Jansen. I really do favor the Dodgers to win this game tonight. They're down 2-0, but they're at home. They're minus 150 favorites on the money line right now. And so I think if we're getting into the late innings of this game, I think Kenley Jansen is pretty safe to come into the game. The Dodgers are in win-now mode. He's their best relief pitcher. So he's going to come in. And as we've said before, talking about these showdown segments, the scoring really favors relief pitchers. They come in and they get extra points for outs. They get extra points for strikeouts. So I think that Kenley Jansen at 3,200 is the best cheap play on the entire slate. And you could roster him and then kind of fit in whichever bats pitchers you want.
Yeah, really quick, is there a bat off the bench that you might guess will get in the game at some point and someone you might consider?
And the batter's hit, right, Greg? Just make sure the rules are correct.
Yeah, and hitting is the guys with the bat.
Got it.
And then pitching is the guys who throw.
Check.
Got it, yeah. And usually they throw left-handed, right-handed, except for it's Pat Venditti throws left-handed, right-handed, and terrible at both. He gives up home runs to both sides of the plate, which makes him very unique. But in terms of bench hitters, none for me, because I think it's too risky, and they only come in to get one plate appearance. They don't get any kind of bonus like the pitchers do, the relievers coming off the bench.
Yeah, there's really no way to project that, I guess. So that was a bad question.
Yeah. So we'll blame it on Reid because he doesn't know baseball.
Yeah, Reid wouldn't have known it was a bad question.
My life. No big deal. Slate approved pick, Greg. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Kenley Jansen. I think he is the best value on the slate. And should he come in and get the save, he's going to score 10-plus fantasy points and only 3,200.
Very nice. Thanks, bud. Sox-Dodgers game 3. First pitch at 8:09 Eastern. We wrap tonight's show with a special edition of NFL Over-Under, so stay tuned.
It's time for your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. I'm Taryn Azak. The Texans put a 42-23 beatdown under the lights last night against the Miami Dolphins. The Texans' Will Fuller had a big night, but with a sour twist. Houston's wideout hauled in 5 passes for 124 yards and a touchdown, but injured his knee midway through the fourth quarter while attempting to catch a deep pass from Deshaun Watson. The team fears their dominant wide receiver suffered a torn right ACL and is likely done for the season. So this is a tough one to swallow for Houston, as they had injuries ruin their 2017 season, but have now climbed back to the top of the AFC South. With Fuller potentially out, this will leave more opportunity for other wide receivers on the team to step it up. DeAndre Hopkins will likely get all the attention from opposing defenses, so look for rookie receiver Kiki Kute and tight end Ryan Griffin to step into bigger roles moving forward.
I'd like to add to Terrell's Fantasy Flash that Reid jinxed the season for Will Fuller. He wanted to trade him from his own fantasy team during the game last night, and then soon after he tore his ACL. So I wanted to add to that. But anyway,
people care about my fantasy team.
Way to go, Reid.
Yeah, way to go, Reid.
Appreciate it, Jeff. I didn't even know you were there.
All right, best for last. To bookend our show, let's reintroduce the DK Live panel of Jeff Ulrich, and then we have Ryan Noonan of the Quant Edge, and the fantasy girl, Rosalie Michaels.
So we're talking over-under here, but we need to specify for Jeff, obviously. This is the super sophomore edition, talking about some second-year players and if they will return value at their price. So let's start with Rosalie, the smartest, followed by Ryan, and then Jeff, obviously. My apologies, Ryan. Let's start with you. QB Mitch Trubisky at 6,100, over or under 20 fantasy points as the Bears host the Jets. What do you think?
Reid, you are such a flatterer. I love that. Love it. Well, you know what? When you look at Mitch Trubisky, you know, over the last 3 games, he's had over 30 fantasy points each game, including against Miami, who's been pretty good against QBs, right? So, but then you have to look at A-Rob's out. He's the biggest target, but he still has Cohen, Gabriel, Burton. And this gives Miller and Bellamy an opportunity to step up. With a projected point total of about 26 points, I'm going to go over here. I think Trubisky has a pretty good game and puts 25 up. So I like him this week against the Jets.
Ryan, who is definitely smarter than me, what do you think, bud?
You're being so nice to me, Reid. I wanted to make a dig about you guys just crushed those hockey.
I know, no kidding. I gave myself the easy ones and leave it to the kid from Hawaii to pronounce hockey names. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under on this one. I agree with Rosalie. He's obviously been on a little bit of a heater lately. If you look at the game logs, this is not nearly the scoring environment that those spots were trying to keep up with New England. Tampa Bay is probably one of the worst defenses in the last 20 years, and that Miami game kind of got out of hand from a game script standpoint. The Jets are vulnerable to rushing quarterbacks due to their mostly man-to-man scheme. So there is a little bit of a floor there for Trubisky. We've seen the last couple weeks, but he's priced in the same range of Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff. So this Jets team is absolutely decimated by injuries. The Bears are a massive home favorite. I just don't think this sets up for a game script that's right for Trubisky, and we're buying him at his peak. So I'm going to take under here.
Jeff, this is right in your wheelhouse to be a devil's advocate. So what do you think?
Well, us dumb people, Reid, our team Trubisky, baby. I don't know how you can't love this guy. I mean, he runs the same as Deshaun Watson. He's got the same running metrics. He's basically a running back playing quarterback. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's just getting into his groove here. The Jets have given up multiple passing touchdowns in each of their last 4 games. They've given up over 300 yards in 3 of their last 4 games to opposing QBs. I think this is a good situation. The only thing that's going to hold old Mitch back this week might be the weather, but he can overcome that. I mean, look, I in all seriousness, I love this guy. I think he's got a great future. I think for fantasy purposes, he's still underrated, and I don't mind this price. The Bears are big favorites. They're going to score a lot of points. So give me some Mitch Trubisky again this week. I think this is too low a price, though.
His legs were moving pretty well against the Patriots last time out. Okay, let's move to the backfield. Running back Christian McCaffrey at 7,000 even. Hasn't hit 15 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks. Will he be over or under with the Panthers taking on the tough Ravens defense? Let's go to Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under here as well. This is the worst possible matchup for really any skill position player against Baltimore. And they're allowing the fewest schedule-adjusted fantasy points per game to PPR running backs on the season. It's great that he's playing 100% of the snaps. I mean, that's amazing. It's just not translating into real fantasy opportunities as of late. He's seen 10 or fewer carries in 4 games this season. So really difficult to forecast this as a get-right spot. I don't like this game total sitting at 43. I think we're going to see that line even drop as we get closer to Sunday here. He has 1 opportunity inside the 5 this season. 1 carry, 0 targets. When you consider he's priced along the likes of Kareem Hunt and James Conner, McCaffrey, easy fade for me this week.
Jeff, do you agree with Ryan? Under 15 or over?
I mean, look, even us not bright people, Brandon, I mean,
Brendan.
We don't really like this spot either. I mean, it's rough. I mean, the Ravens, the most passing receptions they've given up to the running back position is 5 so far, and like 34 yards max. That's McCaffrey's wheelhouse. We saw Alvin Kamara, a similar back, just not have a good day. I mean, he just gets shut down. The Ravens are so suffocating. They allowed the Saints like a 10-minute drive, but they drove the field and didn't come away with any points. So Ryan hit it on the head. I mean, C.J. Anderson is still there. McCaffrey's getting red zone rushes taken by Cam and stuff like that. And then you add in the low-scoring nature of this game. Have to take the under. He might get there on volume alone. He might creep over, but I definitely take the under if I had to take a side.
Legitimately have been the nicest guy next to Reid to you tonight. Anyway, Rosalie, over under 15 points for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with the guys here. I don't know how you don't. I mean, it's a crime what they're doing to this guy in Carolina. They're not getting him the ball. He had 13 touches last week, 16 the week before. He should be in the 25 to 30 touch range every week. C.J. Anderson is not his competition. It's Cam Newton. When you look at McCaffrey has 78 rush attempts. Cam has 52. Cam has 3 rushing touchdowns. Christian has 0. You know, he was the top passing target, but not so much anymore. That was in the beginning of the season. Now he's sharing the limited passing targets with Francesa and Moore, and now Greg Olsen is back. So that doesn't offer a lot of opportunity for him. You know, we already talked about the matchup, so that's not even a choice. Until they start getting Christian McCaffrey the ball more, which they should, because they're doing themselves a disservice, he's just not, sadly not scoring the amount of points that he should be. So he's an under for me.
Reid's been super flattering and nice to everyone tonight, so your reward is you get to answer the question as well. Over under 15 for McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm going to say under here. I think if you look at Christian McCaffrey and what he's done, he's sort of the guy that a lot of people in season-long leagues drafted pretty high. He's not really producing because, like Jeff pointed out very nicely, as well as Ryan and Rosalie, is that Cam Newton's taking all of those red zone targets. Those are huge. Take a look at James White. James White is having the Christian McCaffrey-like season, right? But he's been successful. He's seeing those targets. Tom Brady is not taking away his rushing or his potential red zone targets. So a guy like James White in potential GPPs at that same price tag, and while it's the highest James White has seen, that's tough, right? So I'd put more faith in James White in that offense as opposed to Christian McCaffrey, which is weird to say, right? Because this guy is a perennial talent. He's fantastic, but tough to trust.
All right, you're back to being a host, so read the next question.
Oh, okay. Final question, you three. Juju Smith-Schuster at $7,400 had 19.9 fantasy points in the Steelers' Week 1 game against the Browns. Will he go over or under 20 fantasy points in the rematch? Jeff, start us off, bud.
I'm going to take over. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster's carved himself out like basically a 1B role. He's not really the number 2 receiver, but he's basically sharing number 1 duties with Antonio Brown right now, which seems weird to say, but it's basically the truth if you look at the number. He's also leading the Steelers in red zone targets. You know, Antonio Brown just draws so much coverage that I think Smith-Schuster is going to be able to go off in this matchup. And then, you know, just to add on, I mean, Pittsburgh are big favorites at home. Big implied team total. I know a lot of people are expecting big things from James Conner, and you could see that, but I think it's just as likely that a guy like Smith-Schuster scores a couple times as well. So I'm definitely taking the over here. I think he could definitely go under the radar for GPP tournament target this week.
Rosalie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Jeff and I have agreed on all of these. Woo!
I don't know. I wouldn't cheer yet, Rosalie.
I'm going over on Juju as well. Hey, I love Jeff. We agree sometimes, we don't agree sometimes, but you know what? He's always a good guy. So, but yeah, I'm all about Juju this week. He's got a great matchup in the slot. Cleveland gives up the 5th most passing yards and 9 passing touchdowns so far on the year. Juju only has 2 so far, but I'm not worried about that because Pittsburgh is a pass-heavy team. They pass twice as much as they run the ball. And so that's a great game script for Juju. He'll have the opportunity. Yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed. As Jeff said, you know, you've got Connor, you've got AB, you've got Vance McDonald, but he's first in receptions and passing yards, and there's plenty of fantasy points to go around there. And you look at the same price range, there's a lot of good plays that are around that same amount of 7,400 with ODB, Odell Beckham, and Mike Evans. But I think that Juju might be the least targeted of those 3. So I think he's a good play.
All right, Ryan, finish us off. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Actually, I'm gonna agree with Jeff. So maybe we're all the fish here. But I'm taking the over.
Let's all go down together.
Let's all go down. Juju's he's dusted the Browns in his 2 previous career games against them. I do think this profiles as a James Conner game. I think the Steelers absolutely smashing this one. But Ben and his pass catchers are going to definitely be involved in running up the score. Browns rookie corner Denzel Ward is absolutely balling. His reward for that is he's going to have to chase around Antonio Brown for 4 quarters. And we're going to have Juju feasting in the slot against TJ Carey. So he was almost there last week, or last time these 2 teams played. He finds the end zone here. Give me the over comfortably.
Right, we've got a question from YouTube. A lot of people are talking about this Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen situation just because of what we're seeing, obviously, in season long or just in DFS. So what do you think moving forward, rest of the season, that you'd rather have, Tariq Cohen or Jordan Howard?
You know, Matt Nagy's told us it's going to be a game-by-game situation, and we've seen it. So this week profiles as a Howard game. I know that doesn't help season-long players, but you know, schematically they're smart in taking advantage of the assets that they have. I think I would probably prefer Cohen slightly over him, but I think this week is going to be a Howard week.
All right, Rosalie Michaels, Goff Elric. Ulrich, whatever it is, and then Ryan Noonan. Thanks so much. Jeff?
I didn't get the answer to the last question, but just keep Cohen, trade Howard.
We
he's
didn't
done.
ask you.
Cohen.
We did. Thanks, Jeff.
All right,
thanks.
Reid, quickly, did you learn anything tonight on this edition of The Sweat?
I learned your name is Brandon, so I'm going to start calling you Brandon from now on. Kaufman doesn't like cold weather, I guess, growing up in New England. No, it's really nice, obviously, in LA. A lot of us out here wish we were there.
We're going to spend some time YouTubing pronunciations in the NHL this weekend. That's our homework before we come back to you next week. And speaking of, this show is coming to a close. Make sure to watch this one, all of our content from all of our contributors like this guy to my right here on the Playbook and on DK Live. On the new DK Live app, when you scroll down, you hit the Watch tab. You can watch the show on the app. It is super easy, just like that. So remember to catch us on Sunday. Reid will be there for the Sunday version of The Sweat for Week 8 in the NFL. For Reid Fowler, I'm Brendan Glasheen. Everyone have a great weekend. Good luck with those lineups.